I walked into my childhood home expecting the warm smell of pine, laughter, and a crowded living room for Christmas. Instead, the house was dead silent. Every room was cleared out, and standing on the dining table was a short, cold note from my mother stating that she, my father, and my brother had left for a luxury European vacation, leaving me behind to babysit my supposedly sick grandfather. When I walked into the dark living room, Grandpa was sitting quietly in his rocking chair, looking at me with sharp, bright eyes that held no sign of illness. He looked at the note in my hand, smiled slowly, and asked, "Shall we begin?" I nodded, having no idea that over the next 7 days, my grandfather was about to expose every secret my family tried to hide, rewrite his entire multi-million-dollar will, and completely flip the power dynamic of our family forever. For years, I was the black sheep of the family. My parents poured all their money, pride, and affection into my older brother, Julian. Julian was the golden child who went to an expensive private college on my parents' dime, while I worked 2 part-time jobs just to afford community college textbooks. Every holiday was a theatrical display of Julian's achievements, while my presence was treated as an inconvenient afterthought. When December arrived, I booked a late flight home from my tiny apartment, spending my hard-earned savings just to be with my family for Christmas Eve. When I unlocked the front door that cold night, the lights were off. The tree had no presents underneath it. Sitting on the kitchen counter was a single piece of paper, written in my mother's neat handwriting. It said that Julian had always wanted to see the Swiss Alps during winter, so they decided to take a 3-week family trip across Europe. The note casually mentioned that since I had nothing important going on, I was responsible for looking after my grandfather, who had recently moved in after being diagnosed with mild dementia. They left $200 for groceries and told me not to call unless it was a life or death emergency, because roaming rates in Europe were too high. I stood there in the quiet kitchen, feeling a deep, bitter pain in my chest. My own mother had abandoned me on Christmas Eve to take care of an elderly man they considered a burden, all so they could enjoy a luxury holiday without me. I walked down the hallway into the dimly lit living room, where the rhythmic creak of a wooden rocking chair filled the silence. Grandpa sat near the fireplace, staring into the dark. I thought he would be confused or sad, but when his eyes locked onto mine, they were sharp, clear, and intensely focused. He looked at the handwritten note in my hand and asked softly, "Shall we begin?" Without thinking, I nodded. That night, Grandpa revealed the truth. He was not suffering from dementia at all. He had been playing weak and forgetful for months to see how his own children would treat him when they thought he was no longer useful. He told me that my father and mother had been secretly transferring small amounts of money from his secondary accounts, waiting for him to pass away so they could claim his estate, which was worth over $8 million in real estate and investments. Grandpa had seen through their fake smiles all along, but my arrival on Christmas Eve was the final test. I was the only one who actually showed up for him. Over the next 7 days, we worked side by side. Grandpa called his longtime estate lawyer, who arrived at the house the very next morning. Together, we reviewed every land title, bank account, and family trust. Grandpa officially cut my parents and brother completely out of his inheritance, establishing a private trust fund that placed every single asset under my sole name upon his passing. But we did not stop there. Grandpa also discovered that the European vacation my parents took was paid for using a line of credit they had fraudulently opened under his name, thinking he would never notice.